Alrighty guys, welcome to the very first episode of Sadly Monday. So, quick explanation of what the point of Sadly Monday is. So, Sadly Monday is basically just a low effort way of me getting content out to you guys, which is something I've been very neglectful to do. So, Sadly Monday is just going to be one of those things where kind of like a weekly update on the current events of nightly media and things like that. So, the very first thing that you're going to notice about this is that I am not in Mercy, obviously. The reason being is because Mercy decided that she was going to throw a rod. But to be fair, I've seen it coming for quite some time, and I did everything that I could to prevent it, well, not prevent it, but to keep it from happening as long as I could. You know, regular oil changes, I didn't beat on it quite as hard as I used to, and things like that. But at the end of the day, it is a the car was come out in 2009, 2021. The car's 12 years old. I mean, like I said, the car's 12 years old, and I really don't know what the history of the car is before I owned it. But I do know that since I've owned it, it's been fairly well maintained. You know, regular oil changes, things like that. And at the end of the day, you know, there's only so much you can do for an engine that's failing. But the good news is that I do have quite a bit of content with the car that I can post. The unfortunate news about that is that it's not really content that I would like to be able to post with the car. It's just videos of me driving around, like basically just back and forth to work. So, second thing, number 2. My high school OBS build is in the works. But there's a problem with it. The transmission is out of the truck and has been for a very long time. And the transmission has been physically removed from the truck since February of 2021. It is currently September. The reason that it's taken so long for me to get anything out with that build is because it took me forever to physically remove the transmission from the truck. It literally took me about 4 weeks because the transmission was caught on the guide valves, and it just didn't want to separate from the block because it was stuck to the guide valves. Secondly, parts. It took forever for me to get fucking parts. Third, tools. Obviously, I'm not a transmission shop. I don't have specialty tools to take a transmission apart and put it back together with. Third is that I've never worked on a transmission before. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've done things like change the filter and the fluid and things like that. But I have never taken a transmission apart before. So it was something new for me. And fourth thing going on with that build is that the transmission has been laying in the temporary workshop for, I say probably about 3 or 4 months at this point. Of course, it's in pieces, and I have lost all interest in putting it back together myself, which is a problem, because most places aren't going to let you take your transmission that has been disassembled and for you to give them the transmission and all of the parts to put it back together for, and for them to put it back together. Most shops aren't going to do that, simply just because they don't know if it's quality parts and this and this and that. However, I did find one shop that unfortunately is about 300 miles away from where I currently live that said that they would do it, and I had two options with that. The first option is I can get the warranty, which is going to cost me, if I remember correctly, because this conversation with this shop happened about a month ago, so I'm a little fuzzy with the details on it, but if I remember correctly, it was about $1,300 to do it with the warranty, using all of my parts and everything. Or if I didn't want to get the warranty, it was going to cost me somewhere between $600 and $800. He was very confused, as was I, because again, this is not something that usually happens. Most shops don't take these kinds of transmissions, don't take these kinds of projects on, and most people don't offer these kinds of projects to shops to put back together. So, with that being said, that's where we're currently at with that. Now, the reason that I haven't acted on the shop being able to put the transmission back together just quite yet is because I just simply don't have the funds. I know. YouTuber does broke. Right? You know, we're a dime a dozen. So there's that. And then there's also the situation with Mercy needing a new engine. And then honestly, I have thought long and hard about it. You know, I had two options. I could put a new engine in her, or I could scrap her, or sell her to somebody that's willing to put a new engine in her, you know, yada yada, things like that. And I have thought long and hard about it. And the thing is that for whatever reason, I do have a sentimental attachment to that car. For whatever reason, I don't know what it is or why, but I honestly just can't see myself letting go of the car. Luckily for me, engines for that car are relatively cheap. To replace the engine with the one that's the exact engine that's currently in it, which is an LTZ, which is a GM high-value engine, and replace the 3000 series engines, the 3000 series of V6 engines. That's going to round me because I don't have an engine hoist. Unfortunately, it's just not something I have or even have access to at this point. So the engine itself is anywhere from about $350 for a relatively high mileage one. And when I say high mileage, I mean we're talking like around 180,000 miles. Or I could get something lower, something a little bit more expensive that's closer to the 150,000 mile range, which is going to round me about 450. And then from there, the lower the miles, the more expensive the engine it gets. Obviously. And then I would need to get an engine hoist, and I've found one that I somewhat like. It's at a decent price, but it's going to take me about $280 to buy. It's not not Harbor Freight, so I don't have to worry about it collapsing and destroying my engine and transmission and the subframe and everything else and actually totaling the vehicle out. Which is a good thing because this car is technically already totaled out. If you don't know about that, then you should go check out my Instagram. I do have photos of what happened there. Although you will be scrolling for a bit because I do post. I used to post quite often, and that happened back in 2018. So there's that. And then there's the situation of me not being able to edit videos because I just simply don't know how. What happened there was for a little bit, I had an editor. I have another video that he edited that's going to go up at some point. I'm not really sure when. I have the video. It's ready to upload. I just haven't uploaded it. I've been sitting on this video since like May. And again, it's September. I'm just really bad at remembering to do things is what it boils down to. So, what happened there is, hey, Betty White, do you want to stay in the lane? That'd be great. What happened there was the editor is still a very good friend of mine. You know, we hang out every once in a while, you know, shit and talk, shit and giggle, shit like that. But what happened is that, you know, from day one of him working for me, you know, the guy's in college, and I absolutely do believe that he can do better than, you know, editing videos for a tiny YouTube channel, especially when he runs his own YouTube channel with about, last time I checked, it had like 35,000 subscribers. And the link to his channel will actually be down below in the description. So, what happened there was, like I said, the guy's in college, he's got his own channel, he just has his own life, basically, is what it boils down to. And because of that, I told him that, hey, you know, editing these videos are just a back burner item, you don't have to worry about them. You know, just get to them when you can. If not, it's alright. I don't really mind. And a couple months ago, probably about June-ish, he hit me up and was like, hey man, I'm really sorry about this, but between work, school, and my own channel, and, you know, and everything else I have going on, I just don't have the time to edit your videos. You know, like this and that, and, you know, hopefully we can work together again in the future, which I am completely up for. The guy does amazing fucking work. He really does. I mean, he deserves every subscriber that he has and more because of how much time and effort he puts into the videos and making them look good and just the quality of work that he does. So that's what happened there. So I currently have a backlog of videos that I'm sitting on that I need to edit or find somebody else to edit, and I just haven't done it. I know, imagine that. The Nightblade is too lazy and forgetful to edit or find somebody to edit his videos for him. So, I think that one of the next videos coming up, because I do need content to put out, and I do also need this truck to somewhat survive, It is not my truck, but I still need to drive it because I currently don't have an operational vehicle. So there's that. Yay. This truck does need a bit of maintenance. I put about 10,000 miles on the truck since the last oil change. Yeah, and the truck sat for a minute before I even started to drive it every day. So it needs an oil change. Something else that it needs is that it's got that lovely little check engine light on. And what that check engine light is for the B0130, I believe it's 8. Anyways, it's bank 2 sensor 1. No, bank 1 sensor 2. Basically it's saying that the O2 sensor is reading just the absolute fucking max that it can read, which means that the truck is running pig rich, which is not good. I do know that talking to the actual owners of the truck and the previous owner of the truck, the people that owned it before the people that own it now, this truck has been through about 4 O2 sensors with that same code. I did a little bit of investigating, and it isn't that the O2 sensor itself is fouled out. It's what I believe to be is a fuel pressure regulator that has gone bad. It is no longer regulating the fuel pressure, which is why it's running so rich. I have verified this. The truck at idle has 0.9 volts of output on the O2 sensor that is in question here, and it really shouldn't ever deviate from 0.45, because for 0.45 would be your 14.7 AFR, which is your stoic AFR, you know, the one that everybody strives to get. So, like I said, it needs a new fuel pressure regulator, and while we're going to be working with that code anyway, I may as well go ahead and replace the O2 sensor, because I'm sure at this point, with the amount of miles that the truck has been driven and how the truck has been driven and used since that code was initiated, the O2 sensor is most probably fouled out at this point. But yet at idle, the O2 sensor is reading 0.9 volts where it should be reading 0.47 at all times. And at anything above idle, it's reading 1 volt, which is the absolute max that sensor can read. So I don't know what the actual air-to-fuel ratio that the truck is receiving is, and I don't really have a way to measure it either, outside of the voltage of that O2 sensor, which unfortunately is a narrowband O2. So I can't go in and, which unfortunately is a narrowband O2. And not only is it a narrowband O2, this truck is so old that it doesn't actually allow me to view the air-to-fuel ratio in the ECU. A lot of modern vehicles support it. All you have to do is plug a sensor in that's capable of logging data from your ECU into your OBD port, and you'll be able to view and monitor your AFRs. The ECU will just tell you directly what your AFR is. However, this truck is so old that it does not support me even viewing the fucking fuel trims outside of the O2 voltage. So, like I said, I don't have a way of seeing what it's currently running at. But I would imagine that it is extremely rich, as again the O2 sensor is just pegging out the voltage, meaning it's reading the absolute max that it's capable of reading. And on top of that, this truck does have an issue where it doesn't want to rev over $2,000, and I do believe that that is a safety feature built into the ECU that will prevent the engine, that's supposed to prevent the engine from hydrolocking if the engine is running too rich. This has been a very long episode, and I need to cut it here. So keep an eye out for more content on the channel, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.